Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Last time I talked about how the workflow for GitHub and RStudio and Quarto all work together, and how you need to have a development folder and a publication folder, if you will, for your portfolio. So I'll show you now how to use RStudio and Quarto to develop your website content. Previously, in another video, I showed you how to get the very most basic form of a portfolio site set up using Git tools, and that will get replaced with the content that is generated here. So if you're not familiar with RStudio and Quarto, I have some other videos that talk about how to get that set up. So take a minute and go check those out and make sure you have everything installed before proceeding. Now, assuming you have that done, you'll notice I'm currently in RStudio, and given the information from the last video, I also already have a repo set up on GitHub called Portfolio Dev. So what we're going to be making here can get backed up to that site, to that repo, but the focus here is on the portfolio content itself. So to get started, you need to make a new project and click New Directory, and then Quarto Website, and then we're going to call this Portfolio Dev, just like the other folder that, or the other repo that I have set up. And I'm going to create this as a subdirectory of my parent folder called My Portfolio Files. And I'll just create that. And then when this gets set up, you'll see the files over in this right side. You'll also see the visual editor pop up with a few things. And so I want to walk you through what is in here already. First of all, we have an index.qmd file. QMD stands for Quarto Markdown. You can look at this with the visual editor, or as I recommend it, with the source editor. And you can see there's a header, and it has a title here that you can change. And then it has some text. There's a link and a code block here that shows you some R code. And the little R in these curly braces tells you that that's R code. You can change that to whatever you want it to be. So we might call this My Portfolio. And then for the rest of this, we can just get rid of it for now and leave it that way. And we can save that, and we're done with that. There's also another file in here called about.qmd. You'll notice that it has some very similar content, so we'll leave that one alone for now. There is the project file. There is a style sheet file, which currently doesn't have anything in it. I would like to point out that the comment format for the style sheet is a little bit different. If you're familiar with CSS, you can go ahead and add any that you want here. And then the last file here is the Quarto YML file. And this is essentially settings for your website. And so there's not really a whole lot to change here. You may want to change the title of the website. I'm just going to call it Portfolio for now. And then there's some settings for a navigation bar, which appears on the left. You'll also notice that in this file, you have references to the QMD files, index, which is the main page, and then the about page. If you had any new files, you would add them here. And below that, we have some formatting, and we'll just leave that alone for now. I'll talk about styles and format at a later date. But here, what I'd like to do is quickly add a new page. And let's just say for a moment that you had some photos that you wanted to show off. So what we can do is we can create a new Quarto document, and then we will call this photos. And let's just leave that there, create that. So this is the page. It doesn't have anything in it, so I'll just say photo content for now, just as a placeholder. And then we need to save this file. So let's go to save as, and you'll notice that in your directory over here, it shows photos.qmd. Now, we need to make sure that this is recognized in the YML file. So we'll just add that in here. So we now have the index, which has another little bit of information here, calling it home. And then we have about and photos. So it's really important that you add this in your YML file, because that's what tells it to show up. So we have everything set up here. And the last thing to do is to render this set of files into a website. So currently they are not a website, but we do have the core information we need for that. So I want to point out in the directory that there are only files. There are no folders in here yet. So we'll see that change in just a moment. So what I'd like for you to do is click on your index page, and then you can either click render, or what I like to do is render on save. So every time I save it, it updates. But that's up to you. So there's a checkbox for render on save, and then I can click save, and you'll notice that the background jobs tab starts to update with some different things that it's doing. And then you'll see a new folder appear in your directory, and that is called _site. And if you click that, you'll notice a lot of the same names. You'll see there's an about, index, and photos. There's also a search file. There's a site libs folder with more behind the scenes information that you don't need to worry about. And then there is the style sheet. So if you wanted to look at these, you could open them in a browser. And typically what happens if it's set up like the way mine is by default, you'll actually see the index page pop up. So this is the rendered version of that in a browser. And you can see there's a portfolio. This is the name that we gave this whole thing. There is the home page, the about page, and the photos page. And you can actually click these and load them. The links work properly. So feel free to preview your portfolio right now. And as you decide what you want to do, you can add more pages and more content however you want it, and it will appear here. So that is essentially how you would build out the content for your portfolio. And just like any web page, it's wide open however you want to do that. So for your index page, you may want to add in a section that gives the users an intro. So introduction text can go here. You may want to say something about yourself. If you're an instructional designer or someone involved in education, you may want to have some type of a teaching statement page. You may want to have a page that talks about any awards or certifications or degrees that you have, things like that. So you can create all of these individual pages and then build them out here. Just make sure that you list them in your YML file and then render your index file to get everything done. So that takes care of how you would build out your portfolio with Quarto. And if you want to learn a little bit more about how you can do this with Markdown formatting, I have some other videos where I talk about that a little bit. But essentially, you would create headers and text underneath that using Markdown. So you can do that. The next thing that you need to do is back this up into your GitHub repo. And then you also need to take this site information and then back that up into your GitHub repo that is titled username, whatever your username is, .github.io. So I'll pick up there in the next video and we'll talk about how to get everything moved over to the right place so it's safe and secure and available for public viewing. So that's it for now. Take care. Have a great week. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.